the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of ICT, responsible for the State Department of Broadcasting and Telecommunications, here to represent the CS, the Minister of ICT, Mr. Joe Musheru, who was meant to be here, but he could not make it due to other engagements. The Chairman of the CA Board of Directors, Mr. Gene Gituku, Mr. Francis Wangusi, the Director General of CA, Mr. Daniel Obam, the Communications Secretary in the Ministry of ICT, responsible for the National Communications Secretariat, which is a policy-making arm of the ministry, Mr. John Christophe Prunet, the Vice President in charge of sales for Road and SWAS, who are actually representing the manufacturers of the equipment of the system that we've just acquired, Mr. Bernard Wahome, the MD and CEO of Broadband Communications, and they are the local agent of Roads and SWAS, who are here today. And then representatives of the industry who are here. We are happy to have you with us today. And members of management and staff, and members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome to the official launch of the newly acquired system for monitoring quality of service in Kenya. This equipment, as already indicated, has been supplied or provided by Roads and SWAS using their local agent in Kenya. And we are happy that this is a major milestone that the authority is making today, given that the new system has been upgraded to measure not only voice, but also voice, but now data and SMS. And I'm told that the system actually arises from a framework, new monitoring framework that has been facilitated or developed by the authority in close consultation with the industry. So the tools that we are launching today have the buy-in and the support of the industry, the local industry in Kenya. So with those remarks, it's my pleasure to welcome the guest of honor for sparing time to join us here today. Madam Fatuma has a very long history with us here. She set up the PR and International Relations Department of CCK, the predecessor of CA, and we are happy that she has grown through the ranks to be where she is. And Madam, we congratulate you and welcome you to CA. So with those remarks now, it's my pleasure to call the first speaker for today. And this is Mr. Christopher Kimei, the Director of Licensing, Compliance and Standards. The department is in charge of the department that has been coordinating this project, so that he can give us an introduction of the project and also give a short presentation on it before the other speakers make their remarks. Mr. Kimei.
Chief guests, Madam Fatuma Irsi Mohammed, the Principal Secretary for State Department for Broadcasting and Telecommunications, Mr. Ngene Kituku, CA Board Chair, CA Board members who are present, Mr. Francis Wangusi, Director General of CA, Mr. Bernard Wahome, Managing Director of Broadband Communications Limited, the representative from Roads and SWAS, I think his name must be Brunet, CEOs of the mobile network operators, the mobile virtual network operators present, all representatives of our licensees, CA staff, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have the honor to present to you some features about our new system for monitoring quality of service. But before I do that, just allow me 2 minutes to sort of contextualize where we are and a little bit about this particular system. We all agree that ICTs play a very critical role in our socioeconomic endeavors. And there's been a lot of technological advances in the recent times that has led to massive adaptation of ICTs. And the impact that these ICTs has had on our individuals' lives, businesses, industries, communities, governments, and indeed the entire global ecosystem is immense. Indeed, our statistics show tremendous growth, not only in terms of the ICT networks and services, but a huge reliance on ICTs by the public in their various day-to-day socioeconomic activities. Now, this critical role with increased reliance clearly calls for a rethinking on the aspect of quality of these services. I think we can all agree on that. But those who do not agree, I have bad news for you. The bad news is that right from the Constitution under Article 46 recognizes and it states that consumers have the right to services of reasonable quality. The ICT policy talks the same about ensuring the availability of efficient, reliable, and affordable telecommunication services throughout the country. The sector under Section 23 mandates this authority to protect the interests of consumers with respect to quality of service. Our regulations do obligate licensees to improve service quality by identifying service deficiencies and making appropriate changes. So that is the bad news. I don't know whether it's really bad, but it is indeed good news. From that perspective, guest of honor, ladies and gentlemen, CA from its inception has been monitoring quality of service in different ways. Initially, we used to merely analyze compliance returns that come from various licensees with the hope that they were telling us the truth. It got to a point when consumers were complaining that the services being provided were not of good quality. When we check the returns that are coming from the industry, we realize that it's telling us a different story. It is at that point that we decided that we must independently verify what is really obtaining. So in 2009, we purchased our initial quality of service measurement tool, which is an end-to-end assessment system based on a drive test approach, which is like we drive around, simulate the experiences of customers, and we draw a conclusion. We've been operating with that system for a while, but as I said initially, there have been quite a lot of developments in the industry. There's been greater reliance on data services, and as we speak right now, voice is no longer a predominant service. It is really data that is more predominant. So as the legislation and the Constitution says that we must take care of the quality of service for services and networks that are increasingly being relied upon, we too had to change. So what did we do? From 2004, we started a consultation process with the industry with a view to changing the framework through which we will be measuring quality of service. These were for two reasons. One, to expand the scope of the networks that we were monitoring, and also to expand so that we also monitor data, because previously we were just monitoring voice. The resultant of this consultation is a framework that was gazetted in February this year. This framework has three components. One component is to collect data from the networks themselves for purposes of assessing the network performance. The other component relates to what we call end-to-end assessment based on the equipment that we are unveiling today. The third component relates to customer satisfaction, meaning that we'll be going out there and asking consumers to what extent are you satisfied with this particular service. So the customer satisfaction index that we'll get from the public will form part and parcel of our overall assessment. So we'll have ratios between the network performance, the end-to-end quality of service, and the customer satisfaction component. The ratios will be moving, of course, as agreed with the industry. The first year will be entirely the end-to-end assessment the way we have been doing, save for the fact that we've extended it to include data services. The second year, we will introduce the network performance, which will take care of 30% of the overall assessment, and 70% will come from end-to-end performance. From the third year going forward, the end-to-end, which is the system we are using, will comprise of 60% of the overall assessment. 25% will come from the network performance, and the consumer now will come in with 15% of their contribution in terms of the overall assessment. At this point, I can only say to our dear service providers, be very careful with your consumer going forward. If you upset them, they will bring you down. They will tell us that the services you're providing are not good. I can tell you at this point, we are the only country that has taken such a modern and comprehensive approach in evaluating quality of service. We are the first, that I can assure you. So with those few remarks, let me just then quickly take you through this presentation. It will not take more than 3 minutes. As I said earlier, what we did in our review that took us to this point is to expand the scope of networks that we are going to cover from a quality of service assessment. So from now on, we'll be measuring both fixed and mobile networks. In terms of services, we will be measuring voice, data, and SMS. The systems that we'll be using in undertaking these activities include a drive test units. There are 3 of them at the moment. We are in the process of procuring 2 additional ones to cover the entire country. By the way, we have 4 regional offices. So each regional office will have a unit, and there will be 1 at the headquarters. The meaning of that is that we will be turning around the assessment for the whole country in a fairly shorter time than we have always been doing. Previously, it took us 8 to 9 months to cover the entire country. So this is another additional improvement. We also have walk tests or backpacks in event that we want to assess inside buildings or places that vehicles cannot access. We can be able to walk to such places and get to analyze the data. We also have a post-processing unit and optimizers, 6 of them. And we also, by the way, as I said, we will be measuring fixed line quality of service using our ISDN fixed line units. In terms of the KPIs that we will be checking, this will include network coverage, and this is important for purposes of even universal service strategies that we are undertaking, dropped calls and successful calls or failed calls, speech quality in terms of mean opinion score, network received signal level, that is the signal that comes to your phone, the handover success rate, and so on and so forth. From a data perspective, we will be looking at latency, jitter, data transfer ratio, throughputs, packet loss ratio, internet accessibility, and HTTP and FTP parameters. The meaning of this is that the complaints that we've been receiving from consumers saying that our internet service providers are providing less than optimal services, we will now be able to confirm those complaints and take appropriate action. In terms of SMS, the parameters, so the key parameters will be, successful SMS ratio in terms of the number of SMS delivered, the completion ratio, and end-to-end delivery times. And we have specific parameters in that respect. As I said, this is a short presentation. I think more would be mentioned by the speakers that will follow after me. But at this point, I wish to take this opportunity to thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
We have the perspective as to where the authority is coming from and where it is headed in respect to quality of service, and we are happy that we have consumer organizations that are here with us today, and I'm sure this is good news for them. Your consumers, I think, are being taken care of. The authority is very keen to ensure that consumers get the level of service that they deserve as stipulated in the Constitution. With that, I wish now to invite the Director General, not the Director General, apologies. I wish to invite the equipment vendor, the local supplier of this equipment, or the engine, to make a few remarks and introduce the equipment manufacturers so that they can say a few words. Please make it short and nice before we invite the Director General. Bwana Wahome.
The Permanent Secretary, Broadcasting and Telecommunication in the Ministry of ICT, representing the CES, Ministry of ICT, Fatuma Hasi Mohammed, the Chairman of Communication Authority, Mr. Gene Kituko, the Director General, Engineer Francis Wangusi, all the directors who are here, all the people represented, all the executives, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to be here today to witness this auspicious occasion organized by Communication Authority to promote quality in our great country, Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, the telecom network must adhere to specific standards to deliver the required quality of service. Indeed, the network requires to be tested to conform to the required international standards, which includes ITU, GSM, DGPP, among others, to indeed guarantee interoperability, reliability, accessibility, and deliver the required quality of service to the end users. It is worth noting that the quality of service is a function of quality planning, quality network implementation, quality operation and maintenance, among others. Together with our OEM partners, we have diversified portfolio of solutions covering test and measurement, monitoring and management of networks to complete the whole ecosystem of ICT networks. For the last 17 years, our organization has been involved in support of mobile network operators and regulators across the region, the greater East African countries. Our current major supplier, OEM partner, is Lawrence Schwartz, who is the most innovative organization as far as all RF communication solutions, monitoring, tests, and measurement globally. In this particular project, the scope included supply, delivery, installation, and maintenance of quality of service monitoring solution covering the mobile technologies in the country. The system is composed of a central system and 3 mobile systems installed in Land Cruisers, as you'll see later when it is unveiled. Today, I'm happy to report that though there was a delay in getting some approvals, the project was done and completed within schedule. I take this opportunity to thank all the people involved in the project, because without you, we could not have made it. It is worth noting that our organization is the signatory to United Nations Sustainability Agenda. In this regard, principle number 7, which covers protection of environment, is very dear to our hearts. In this regard, for every project that we do, we try to ensure that we try as much as possible not to degrade the environment. The project involved 3 vehicles that consumes fossil fuels, hence polluting the environment. As you witness area, in order to dilute this pollution, with authority from Communication Authority, we planted 3 trees to represent each vehicle, plus some bonus 2 trees, so that we can try to dilute the pollution that will happen as these vehicles operate across the country. Indeed, if each one of you, and I'm sure 80% of us here are driving cars, if you plant 1 tree, we'll move closer to enabling our sustainability agenda to move forward according to United Nations endeavor. Last but not least, I wish to thank Communication Authority Management for giving us the opportunity to support you in this project. I also wish to thank each and everyone involved in the project for the effort you made to make the quality of service management system a success. Special thanks goes to the project coordinator, Derek Simiu of CA, Lawrence Washihi of Broadband, who was our PM. In the same token, I cannot forget to thank Pasquale Midiri for training and Josiah Sansei for the installation of both from Laurent Schwartz for the effort enabling a complete successful project closure. In addition, I also wish to thank Toyota Kenya for meeting the high specifications for the Land Cruisers as per CA's requirements. It is worth noting that due to your individual and collective effort, we managed to complete the project on time and delivering the desired quality to the Communication Authority. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite my colleague from Laurent Schwartz, Mr. John Christophe Prune, Vice President Sales and CEO for Africa. Welcome, Monsieur Jean Christophe, to give your remarks. Asante sana, and may God bless you.